Okay. Done.
Hi, everybody. Sorry I'm a little late today. That was my husband, Josh. He was going to come tell me about our Instant Pot. Yeah, so today's Friday. We're continuing on with our live reading of The Little Prince. We begin with chapter 9. I believe that he left his asteroid in the same way as a flock of birds would do. One morning after his discovery, he cleaned his planet thoroughly. He scrubbed his volcanoes carefully. He had 2 active volcanoes. They were very useful for heating his breakfast. He had 1 dead volcano as well, but as he said, you never know for sure. That's why he scrubbed the dead volcano too. When volcanoes are well scrubbed, they burn slowly and consistently without eruptions. An eruption of a volcano is like a fire in a house where a chimney is blocked with soot. On our planet Earth, we are clearly too small to clean volcanoes. That is why they cause us endless problems. The little prince, rather melancholically, extracted the last baobab sprouts. He thought he would never want to come back. But during the last day, all those habitual actions seemed so precious to him. When he was watering the flower for the last time and about to cover it with the glass shade, he realized he was going to cry. Goodbye, he said to the flower, but it didn't reply. Goodbye, he repeated. The flower coughed, but not because of a cold. I behaved stupidly, the beauty said at last. I am sorry. Try to be happy. He was surprised that it didn't blame him. The little prince was confused whilst he was holding the glass shade. He didn't understand its calm good nature. Of course, I love you, said the flower. It is my fault you didn't know about this. It doesn't matter, but you behaved as stupidly as I did. Try to be happy and leave the glass shade. I don't need it anymore. But the wind. My cold is not so dangerous. A cold night wind is useful for me. I am a flower. But animals! Well, I need to accept 2 or 3 caterpillars if I want to get to know butterflies. They seem to be very beautiful. Who will speak to me if there are no caterpillars or butterflies? You will be far away. As to big animals, I am not afraid of them. I have my own claws. It showed its 4 thorns naively. It added then, don't hesitate. You decided to leave, so leave. Because the flower didn't want him to see how it was crying. It was a very proud flower. Chapter 10. He found himself surrounded by asteroids 325, 326, 327, 328, 329, and 330. He decided to visit them in order to broaden his horizons. A king lived on the first one, wearing royal purple fur. He was sitting on his throne that looked both plain and majestic. Here is the citizen, exclaimed the king when he saw the approaching little prince. And the little prince thought to himself, how could he recognize me considering we've never met before? He didn't know that the world was very simple to kings. The king thought all people were citizens. Come closer so I can see you better, he said, proud to finally be someone's king. The little prince looked around, searching for a place to sit, but the whole planet was covered with the king's majestic fur gown. He kept standing, but as he felt tired, he yawned. According to etiquette, it's not allowed to yawn in front of the king, spoke the monarch. I forbid you to yawn. But I can't stop it, the surprised little prince replied. I've come from far away. I haven't slept at all. In that case, the king said, I order you to yawn. I haven't seen anyone yawning for many years. Yawning is a very interesting subject for me. Yawn one more time. That's an order. It scares me. I can't yawn anymore, mumbled the little prince, who was completely confused. The king replied. Then I order you to yawn from time to time. He mumbled something unclear and seemed to be annoyed with himself. The most important thing for the king was to be respected as an authority. He couldn't bear disobedience. He was an absolute monarch. But because he was a good man, his orders were fair. He explained as an example. If I ordered a general to turn himself into a seabird and he disobeyed, it would be my fault, not his. May I sit down? A request from the little prince sounded modest. I order you to sit down, the king replied and rolled his fur gown grandly. The little prince couldn't figure out. The planet was tiny. Who was reigned over by the king? Your Majesty, he asked, may I ask you a question? I order you to ask me a question, the king hurried to assure the little prince. Your Majesty, who do you reign? Everyone and everything, the king answered very simply. The king gestured around his planet, other planets, and all the stars. All of these? The little prince asked. All of these, confirmed the king. His authority was not only absolute, but total as well. Do the stars obey you? Of course, the king said. They obey immediately. I don't tolerate disobedience. This power astonished the little prince. If he had such an unshakable authority, he could enjoy the sunset not only 44 times per day, but 72 or even 200 times without moving his chair. As he got sad when he remembered the planet he had left, he found the courage to ask the king a favor. I would like to watch the sunset. Would you do me a favor? Order the sun to go down. If I order a general to fly from one flower to another like a butterfly, or to write a drama, or to turn himself into a seabird, and the general doesn't do it, which of us will be wrong? The king asked. General or me? You, the little prince replied firmly. Correct! You can demand to fulfill only those responsibilities that a person can cope with, the king continued. An acceptable power is based, first of all, on a reason. If you order your people to jump into the sea, it will lead to a revolution. I have the right to demand obedience because my orders are reasonable. What about my sunset? The little prince reminded him, because he had never left a question unasked. He asked, You will have the sunset. I will give an order. But taking into account my ability to govern wisely, I can assure you that you will need to wait for more favorable conditions. When will it happen? The little prince asked. The king answered, and before saying anything else, he looked into a thick almanac. It will happen approximately, it will happen tonight, approximately at 20 minutes past 7. And then you will see my orders are executed in full obedience. The little prince yawned. He was upset that he couldn't watch the sunset. He was getting bored as well. I don't have anything to do here, he said to the king. I will continue my journey. Don't go! I will appoint you to the position of a minister. A minister of what? The justice minister. But there's nobody to judge. We don't know that, the king replied. I haven't examined my whole kingdom yet. I'm too old. There's no place for a carriage, and I get tired of walking. I have already examined, the little prince said, and turned in such a way so that he could look at the other side of the planet. There was nobody at the other side, as well as where he was. Then you should judge yourself, the king said. It is the most difficult thing. It's much harder to judge yourself than to judge others. If you manage to give a fair trial to yourself, you are indeed a very wise person. Yes, the little prince said, but I can judge myself anywhere. I don't need to live on your planet for this purpose. Said the king. I have good grounds to hypothesize that there is an old rat somewhere on my planet. I can hear it at night. You can judge this old rat. From time to time, you will sentence it to the death penalty. In this case, its life will depend on your judgment. But you will grant it a pardon every time. You need to treat it carefully, because this rat is the only one we've got. I don't want to sentence anyone to death, the little prince replied. I think I will leave now. No, said the king. But the little prince, who was ready to leave, didn't want to upset the old monarch. If your majesty wishes for me to obey immediately, you will need to give me a fair order. For example, you can order me to disappear in a minute. I think conditions are favorable, he said. The king didn't answer, so the little prince hesitated for a while. Then he sighed and left the planet. I'm appointing you to be my ambassador, the king exclaimed in a hurry. He sounded very authoritative. Adults are rather strange, the little prince thought to himself, and carried on his journey. Okay, thanks for watching. That's the end of this week's reading. We'll pick back up next Friday with chapters 11 and 12. That's a pretty significant portion of this book, I believe. So we're getting there. I hope you had fun and enjoyed my silly voices, and I will see you on Monday for YouTube poems, and then daily next week at 2 p.m. For our other YouTube live activities. You can find our worship audio for the week at our website, lajollaunitedmethodist.org. La Jolla is spelled Lajolla, so lajollaunitedmethodist.org. I'm preaching this week, so I hope you'll check us out. You'll find it at on the website on the left-hand side. Scroll down a little bit. The sermon is called Indescribable, and you'll find us there. Hope to see you again next week. And as always, if there's anything we can do to be supportive at this time, I hope you'll shoot me an email, lbooth@lajollaumc.org. See you soon. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay home.